Okay.
Now.
Okay. Okay. Good evening. Welcome to June 6th meeting of the Scituate Conservation Commission. This meeting is being held remotely as an alternate means of public access pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Act of 2021, temporarily amending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You are hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Scituate in accordance with the open meeting law. Also remind you that the town of Scituate, Mass. Has a commitment to diversity, equality, and inclusion. The Scituate Conservation Commission is committed to providing an environment of respect during the meetings. We ask that all members to interact in a polite manner, even when there is a disagreement. We value the participation of our community and want all participants, including marginalized and minoritized communities, to feel welcome and respected. We ask our committee members and all who participate to commit to these standards to support and respect our community. So that said, do we have any additions or omissions to our agenda?
Frank, we have Driftway Park on to talk about later on under administrative items, and we might expand on that topic from just the kayaks to talk about some of the other items there. But other than that,
okay. And maybe I'll just give you a real quick briefing on where we are with the scouts and our signs and a couple of things like that. All right.
Sounds good. Okay. So I'll make a motion. We accept the agenda as written with the two add-ons, Driftway Park and Scouts.
So that's Penny. Do we have a second?
Second from Jen.
Thank you, Jen. All in favor, Richard?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Brendan?
Yes.
And Frank, yes. That was a real resounding yes. Okay. So we're going to start with Teague Sherman Community Garden. On June 6, 2022, during the 6 p.m. meeting at Town Hall, the Scituate Conservation Commission will act on the request of the town of Scituate for a determination of applicability from Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Scituate Wetlands bylaws for activities related to one handicap parking space at a location at Teague Sherman Garden on First Parish Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the meeting will be available in the agenda posted on the town website. Okay. Do we have anybody? Is Jean?
Yeah, Jean's here. I'm gonna undo her camera. And my...
There she is.
Good evening, Jean.
Hi, Frank. Thank you all for having me tonight. And thank you for reading a diversity, equity, and inclusion statement at the beginning of your meetings. I think that's really great. Appreciate that too.
We're trying. So if you just want to explain, I think most of us or some of us know what you're doing, and we appreciate all your efforts there at the community garden. So if you just want to give us a little brief rundown of what this is for. What you're doing.
Sure, absolutely. I want to thank everybody on the commission and town staff members in the conservation department for supporting this project and for being very patient with us as we try to work our way through a process that we are very unfamiliar with in terms of all of the procedural things to go through with the town and with the state. So thank you for that. We are, for anybody who's not aware, we did receive funding from CPC to put up a new fence at the community garden, which is right off of First Parish Road across from the Lonborg's house. We are in our 13th year of gardening there. It's an organic community garden. Everybody who has a plot there donate some of their produce to the food pantry, and we garden there and learn together. And it's a great place for people to garden who have maybe downsized or for other reasons can't garden at home or want a community to garden with. So that is the overview of the project for the past 13 years. And the current project in terms of funding and the work that's happening right now. This, the accessible parking spot that is shown in this sketch here is mostly done. It still needs some finishing touches. Many thanks to Penny for helping out with this, and Steve Leach from Northern Oak is the one who has been putting it in. It still does need some finishing touches, and then obviously we will have to put up a sign, but it is mostly ready to go. And then the David Armstrong Fence Company is putting in the fence around the property, around the garden, and that work started this morning. So we are very excited that we are not losing the entire gardening season. So that's where we're at. We hope to have the fence in by the end of the week, and hopefully have the parking area finished within a week or two, depending on Steve's schedule.
Great. Well, it looks good there, and we appreciate the good use that the property is going to with all the gardeners and all that they do for the community. So it's kind of a win-win, I think. And we're glad, we had a hearing to remove the trees, and quite honestly, I thought we dealt with the whole issue at that time, but so
did we, sort of.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Thanks, everyone. That's what I was thinking in terms of everybody's patience and support. I just didn't really know what I needed to do in terms of paperwork and asking for permission. So thanks everybody, especially Penny, for stepping in and leading me through it, and to Jen and Amy as well. And yes, I didn't review I think everybody knows that very early in the spring, we took down a bunch of trees, which otherwise might have fallen on the new fence. That opens up the property quite a bit, so we'll have a lot more sun in there. So we're hoping for, drought conditions excluded. We are hoping for great conditions over there with a lot more sun. And it was a mess right after the trees came down, because that happened during mud season. So it looked like a moonscape over there. It was pretty scary, but we've managed to, people are growing things already. It looks 1,000 times better over there right now. And then in terms of it looking like it was maybe we'd cut down too much, or it was open too much, or barren, or whatever, it's amazing how quickly things start to fill in along the roads. So I don't think it looks, terrible from the road either. That foliage is starting to fill in. So
it's all coming together. That's great.
It's coming together. Yeah.
I'm pretty familiar with this. We'll just start down the list and see if anybody else. Penny, you want to maybe, because you've been familiar with this, comment first?
I just felt bad because, to be honest with you, when Jean came forward about the trees and the fencing, I really didn't think the handicap parking was in our purview, but it was. So, we took care of that, and Steve's done a good job out there. It's just enough for one person, and there will be signage and this. They've done a good job. They've tried to work so hard within, the boundaries we've set for them. And of course, I've been part of it since the get-go when we first started this, and it's come a long ways. And the Sustainable Scituate and John Belba and Jean, they have done a phenomenal job out there with this. I have nothing but good things to say about that community garden.
Awesome. Thanks, Penny.
Yep.
Doug?
I don't think I have any questions. Where are the wetlands in relationship to this? Why is this in our purview?
See the property line?
Yep.
If you keep going towards 3A, there's a little stream that runs through there.
Oh, okay.
But the stream is also a resource area. So
yeah, well, there's wetlands there, and then on the other side, there's a stone wall, and then there's wetlands down there. So there's actually wetlands on both sides, Doug.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. No, if you're fine, you've gone out and seen it. So I have no questions.
Thanks. Richard,
I'm good, thank you.
Jen,
All good.
Brendan.
I have no questions.
Okay. Do we have anybody in? Amy, do you want to comment?
Yes, I would like to comment that it appears to meet the requirements of a negative finding, and to also thank Jean and all the community garden members for doing a fantastic job over there.
Great. Anybody in the audience? Seems pretty quiet.
I'll make a motion then, okay?
Yep.
For -3.
Second it, Richard.
Second by Richard. All in favor? Doug,
Yes.
Jen,
Yep.
Brendan,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Great. Negative's a good finding, Jean.
Understood. Thank you all so much. And just FYI, we do have a couple of plots left available. So if anybody is looking for some space, let me know. It's $25 for the season to grow there.
Okay.
Can't beat it. Can't beat it.
We're really proud of the project and really appreciate the support. So
Thank you.
thanks very much for helping out with this, and hope you all have a good night.
You too. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
184 Central Ave. On June 6, 2022 at 6 p.m. in the Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Paula Mulkern for work related to an after-the-fact reconstruction of a deck with new footings at location at 184 Central Ave, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the virtual meeting will be available on the agenda posted on the town website. Okay. Do we have the applicant
Right.
or?
Yeah, we have somebody from Bracken Engineering on the call, and I'm gonna get on.
Okay.
That's a cute little house.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear us okay?
We can.
Excellent. Good evening. My name is Rob DeWart. I'm with Bracken Engineering. I'm here with the contractor for the project, Mr. James Tobin. We're here on behalf of Joseph and Paula Mulkern for the property here at 184 Central Ave. And this is up in the Hummerock neighborhood. We're nestled in between the open water of the Atlantic to the northeast here and the South River to the southwest. Forgive my ignorance, this is our first time here up in Scituate. Typically, do you allow us to share our screen, or do we just go off of your screen here in the presentation?
The one that we have up.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. So we're here tonight to request post facto approval for the installation mainly of some helical piles. These are screw piles that were installed as part of the reconstruction of an existing deck. The deck was in the process of being reconstructed under an approved building permit. It did not trigger conservation at the time of the original permit issuance because nothing, the original footings were going to remain originally. During construction, it was found that the footings did not actually exist. It was just posts into the ground. To remedy that situation, the contractor did install 14 helical screw piles into the earth there. At that point, that did trigger conservation, and they were remanded to cease work until we could get the work approved in a post facto nature from then. So here we are tonight. Just a little history on the parcel itself. We are nestled again between the South River and the Atlantic Ocean. We do lie within a coastal barrier beach system, and we are partially within the BE 15 zone. You can see that on the plan. At this point, I think I'd like to open up to any outstanding questions the board may have on the proposed work. Actually, the previously performed work. So,
let's see. Well, it's in Hummerock. So, Richard.
I knew you'd come to me first. I guess the only question I have now is the work actually completed? What's done has been good so far, as I can see. I just wish it had come to us ahead of time. But is it completed now?
It has been completed, yes.
That's what I thought, and it is much. It looks much sturdier than the old one, to say the least. But I had no way of knowing that it didn't really have footings in it. Other than that, no, I don't have any questions, Frank.
Okay, Doug.
I'm good.
Penny?
No, I think it's great. I love the little house with all the decking. Get outdoors. Wonderful.
Jen?
It's always nice to follow Penny. I agree.
There you go. How about Brendan?
I have no questions.
You know where Hummerock is, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Oh, you're a wise guy, Frank.
I do wonder sometimes. Who knows what?
Amy?
Did you skip, Doug?
No, I was in.
Yeah.
I said
Oh, okay. Sorry. All right. Yeah, I don't.
He carried on for about 5 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, this isn't after the fact. So thanks for coming in and filing for the notice. It probably should have got flagged, maybe earlier in the process. I'm not sure, but it's something that it looks like we could probably close on, and the work's already done. So just a few more steps to take, and you should be all set as far as the orders. Oh, and I would, if you're going to vote to close, I would also, if you could vote to close and issue, so we can try to get this out the door.
Okay. Do we have anybody in the audience for this?
Seeing none.
Just a couple of real quick. I saw the helical piles. Did you get a building permit to do this?
Yes.
Okay, great.
So I'll make a motion to close and issue.
I'll second it, Richard.
Okay, all in favor? Doug?
Yes.
Jen?
Yep.
Brendan?
Yes.
And Frank, yes. Great.
Frank, just as a quick sidelight,
Yep.
Linda and I 30 years ago actually looked at that house before we got the house we're in.
Wow.
And unbelievable views of both the river and the ocean. Just you go to one side, you look out the back, you see the ocean, you look out the front, you see the sunset over the river. It was just too small for us, but it's really a beautiful house.
Oh, great.
I love it.
Oh, can I ask one quick, how did you do with the helicals here? Did you have any trouble putting them in? Did they function okay?
We have a pretty big machine to put them in. They screwed right in, no problem at all.
Okay, it's just good to know. Sometimes we get feedback in some areas where they aren't so practical, but it's a nice
Once
way
you
to
get past like 8 feet, they get a little choppy, but they still go in.
Rocky.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. Okay. So I think we're good.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you very much. And so we closed and we'll issue. So as soon as I can get that sorted out, we'll get that out to you. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we have
3 continuances in a row, Frank.
Yeah.
Do we have to open any of these?
No.
Actually, we do on one of them, but the next
No,
one
they've
is,
both been continued. It says 5/16 and 5/2 continued from.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then
Can I
maybe
just
put
ask
those
a
in a row.
question? Can I ask a question before I make a motion, please?
Mhm.
On 121 Jericho, what else did we ask him for? I'm just surprised it's being continued so many times. It was a raise and rebuild.
Right. it also triggered stormwater review. And
Oh,
so the review has been delayed in that department.
Okay.
Both engineers have been working it out. It's just gone slower, but.
no,
but they're
that's
still
fine.
on
I
track.
just couldn't understand why it kept, all right, I forgot that.
Yeah, no, I don't know the full details, but it will be back soon.
Sure. Okay,
Okay.
so I'll make a motion to continue 121 Jericho Road to June 22nd.
Okay, that's Penny. Do we have a second?
Second from Jen.
Okay, all in favor, Richard,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Great. 107 Turner Road.
Yep, they'd like to continue. I'll make a motion to continue them to July 11th.
Okay.
Second, Richard.
Thanks, Richard. All in favor, Doug,
Yes.
Jen,
Yep.
Brendan,
Yes.
Frank, yes. Okay,
One more, 7 New Driftway.
This one does need to be.
well, I gotta
opened.
open this one first, Penny.
Wait, we talked about this once before. That wasn't
Yeah.
opened?
Right,
Yeah.
but we continued to a date and time uncertain because it wasn't making any progress. And that's
Oh,
consistent with our new continuance policy that we are instituting.
Oh, okay, so Frank's gonna open this one again and then we'll
Yeah.
continue. Okay,
But then
You-
it turned out they need to continue again, so.
You okay with that, Penny?
I certainly am. I just didn't understand it. Now I do. Thank you.
Okay. On June 6th, 2022, at 6 p.m. in the Town Hall, Situate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Situate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Driftway LLC for work related to construction of a multifamily building and site infrastructure located at 7 Driftway Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the virtual meeting will be available on the agenda in the town website. Okay,
Okay,
and then we have a request to continue that too, right?
yes. So I'll make a motion to continue 7 New Driftway to July 25th.
Okay, that's Penny.
Second from Jen.
Thanks, Jen. All in favor, Richard,
Yes.
Doug,
yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Thank you. Okay, 39 Arrowwood.
Ugh,
Don't forget that part I just read, Penny, at the beginning.
This
of the
one,
meeting.
we don't need to open again, but it has been continued for a very long time, but they
Numerous.
are back with a new plan. And so I'm gonna unmute Brad Holmes because I believe he is the presenter on this one.
Okay,
Good evening, members of the commission. Brad
Hi, Brad.
Holmes with ECR here for 39 Arrowwood Drive. Along with me this evening is Tara McGavin for her property here. What I've done is put together a presentation colored plan for the commission to look at. If you remember the notice of intent that we submitted for the proposed pool and retaining wall and re-landscaping work in the backyard included a pool at the north end of the house, kind of in the more wooded area. So since that time, we continued. Paul Mirabito of Ross Engineering did present the project to the Zoning Board of Appeals for relief on the construction within slopes within the Water Resource Protection District. That was continued so that we could get through the Conservation Commission first. And since that time, we've relooked at the project and we've worked on a number of different designs. And we're coming forward with you tonight with this design that moves the pool from that north end. It moves it into the backyard behind the house, works within the existing lawn area. There's an existing patio at the back. And by doing that, we're able to significantly reduce the retaining wall as far as it being a large structure that would involve a lot of structural engineering. This retaining wall would be a concrete block system from Scituate Concrete and Pipe. And within the region of the pool, The retaining wall would be approximately 3.5 feet high. You can see that I've shaded the area in green, which is the existing lawn. The area to the north is I've shaded a little bit in brown. That's the only portion of the site where the work would occur outside of lawn area, which is it's a forested area. So that the majority of the work all within the existing lawn area. It would meet the 50-foot setback, so we wouldn't encroach into the 50-foot buffer zone. And associated with the pool would be pool patio around the pool, and then pervious patio and pervious walkway. We have proposed an area just to the north of what our layout for the pool and patio would be, with some retaining walls within the area just to the north of the pool, so that we can create a little bit of a flat area for play space for the kids. Maybe eventually put some sort of a little play set there, but it's just more of a usable space. So we did listen to the commission at the first meeting. We know that there was concern with the significant retaining wall that was proposed to the north. So we tried to work everything into the design and keep it within the existing developed areas. So I think I'll leave it at that. And I don't know if you've been able to look at that. Hopefully the color rendering helps, and take any questions you have.
Thank you, Brad. Amy, do you want to go first on this?
Okay. Well, so Brad's markup of this plan is really just the plan that we received shaded in, so it's easier to follow. But I mean, I think that it's maybe an easier project to execute in this new location. From the appearances of when it was to the north, I mean, it was going to be pretty tricky to get it in there with those slopes. And I still think that trickiness applies to the fact that you're working right up against this 50-foot buffer. And then the other thing that I have is just a question about whether, is this a fill site? Like, are you changing grades? Because based on the plan, it doesn't look like the grades are changing. Or are you just taking volume out so that you can put like a, you know, like a fiberglass pool in the ground, that type of thing. And then everything else is just regarding the details. Like the plan doesn't show us the details of, you know, the retaining wall, the pervious patio, the side view of the pool, like a profile of the pool might be helpful too, like just that type of thing. And then also maybe a narrative on how you're going to execute the project without going into the do not disturb area. And then finally, I don't know, maybe you might consider some enhancement required for this kind of a project too. But so I'm not sure it's really ready to close because of those lack of details, but those are my primary comments, Frank.
Finishing up my candy bar. Doug.
Yeah, it's hard for me to remember what the original proposal was, but it does look like it's drastically improved here by this, and the rendering does help, I think. So that's existing lawn there. I think I get it. The retaining wall is going to limit the need for any additional grading, so they could just probably just going to grade out flat to that retaining wall. Brad, is there going to be a footing underneath that has to be excavated for?
There would be. It's a large concrete block system, so I'm sure they would dig you know, and put a kind of gravel base to it. I have an image, if that helps, of the concrete block that would be something similar to be used. And also I can show you the existing conditions on the previous plan, if that helps. But I do have that information if you'd like it.
Yeah, I've got it back there in the file somewhere. So
okay.
That's okay. I just don't remember it. It's been a little while. But yeah, I guess what I was concerned about, like, is you know, how deep does that have to go down for the footing? You said there's about 3 feet exposed in the back along the area of the pool. So
Correct.
not terribly high, and I'm guessing the wall is going to go in before the pool,
Right.
or along with it. So I'm just like, how much below the 3 feet do you have to go down for the footing kind of thing? What are these, those interlocking blocks that you?
Yes, not the smaller, but the large, you know, I don't know, they're like 2 feet by 3 feet, kind of the bigger block system.
Yeah.
You have sort of a textured face and then you fill them.
Correct.
Okay.
Material.
Okay.
So I mean, I'm not engineering this project, but I would assume that it's probably got to get down to close to the depth of the pool, but maybe not quite that far. They work pretty well because of their big, they already have a big base. As opposed to having to dig down and pour concrete wall, you know, pour footings and then a wall up on top of it.
Okay.
But they've certainly have a little logistics in working that out with the pool, but somebody thinks they can do it.
That seems good. I mean, because like all the major work is outside of the 50. So if you know, if you wanted to consider enhancements in from between the wall and the 50, they're probably not going to go back there and mow that anymore. It's pretty
Yeah,
steep
but there's a
too.
break in the fence, so I'm a little concerned that they might not mow it, but they might use it as a dumping grounds, you know?
Oh, yeah, I was just thinking of replanting, you know, putting some vegetation.
Well, actually, it reduces the
native
amount of lawn and landscape, you know, on the site, reduces that need. You know, as far as a break in the fence, I'm sure you have to have some sort of access if you have to get over, but that can certainly be a condition that there's no dumping within the 50-foot buffer zone, which I think is obvious.
It's already in our bylaw, but
sure.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
Penny?
I'm just a little confused, Brad. Okay, why didn't you make the concrete block a straight line on the south side where it kind of curves in and then goes back out? Why didn't you just make it a straight line?
He's
Did
staying
it
out
have
of
a little more grass?
He's staying out of the 50.
Right, we're respecting the 50-foot
you're
buffer.
following the line of the 50.
Right.
All right, because I'm looking at it's already grass on the other side there. All right.
Right.
Even though, all right.
You should be happy, Penny.
No, I am. I was just getting confused. Never mind.
I should have let Brad answer that. Sorry, Brad.
I should have said very good point.
It's just unfortunate because it already was grass area that he couldn't go straight, but that's fine. You want him out of the 50, yes. All right. No, I don't have a problem with it. You know, if they can do it, good luck to them. It's such a weird lot. It's such a weird site.
Unique, Penny. It's unique.
Okay, it's unique. It's a very unique site. It's a difficult site to work on.
There you go.
There you go. Okay.
Jen?
Moving on.
Yeah, I guess the one question and maybe it was covered in while I was just trying to look at the tiny numbers, is how do we know how like deep the deep end is? Because if it's a 3-foot block, I'm just trying to do a little bit of the math on that.
On the pool?
I don't have the details on the depths of the pool.
Does the owner, is she on the call?
Yes. Tara, do you have any details on the depth of the pool that you're looking at? I don't know if they have that detail defined yet, because we're trying to, you know, get layouts and pool placement approved. And I know that we haven't been able to work on final details, but may or may not have that.
Amy, do you want me to unmute Tara or?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if somebody else had already done it.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, so no, we haven't decided what the depth of the pool is going to be. If there's a restriction there, or is there something that you want to place on it, we want to be able to work with what you're looking for. So we haven't decided that. We're not set on a certain depth or anything like that. We just want to be able to put the pool in. So we're happy to work around that based on what your needs and asks are.
Let's be clear. We don't want a wading pool like 24 inches.
Oh, I don't know about that. I think that sounds like a great idea.
Well, they want a swim pool. You don't have, you're not gonna dive, I hope.
Well, we can't control what people do, but
No, a diving board.
Oh, let's stick to the Wetlands Protection Act and our
Okay.
bylaw, okay?
No, but that'd be over 8 feet deep. That's
Well,
all I'm
it's-
saying.
But if the engineer can figure it out, and I don't mean to interject on somebody else's stuff, but if I look at the contour line, they're putting this in somewhere around the 96, 90, well, must be a little bit higher than that. Because the walls at elevation, Doug, what did I see that, 103?
Yeah, I'm taking a closer look here.
It's a little bit off to the left. The proposed wall is at 103.
And then the grades run up to about, 100, 101 through the middle of the pool, and then, fall off to.
Yep.
Yeah.
So maybe there's places where this retaining wall might be a little bit higher, like 5 feet high or something like that. And then.
okay. So is it something that we could, as part of the conditions, or just in terms of understanding what was happening in the 50 to 100, what the final dimensions of the pool are, so we just have an understanding of that?
We can certainly get, once the pool design is finalized, we can get the commission a copy of that.
Cool. I'm good, Frank.
Okay. Brendan?
Yeah, I think everything's been covered. I have no questions.
Do we have anybody? Thank you. Do we have anybody in the audience? Okay. A couple of questions, Brad. So that slope is pretty steep. Was that man-made? I know that there was a lot of filling and cutting done when the subdivision was built. Is that natural or was that man-made?
I think
It's
within
man-made.
I'm sorry, man-made?
It's definitely man-made, yes.
Okay.
certainly within the lawn area. And then when you get into the wooded area, it's a significantly mature, forested area. As I remember going through there, they're large trees. So I don't think it's, fully filled,
So it's
in and
not
around the house.
Okay, so it's not lawn, is it lawn all the way to the wetlands? Or to be honest, I didn't go to the site.
No,
so-
I've shaded in the limit of the lawn in green.
Okay.
So you can see that it's forested right beyond.
I got it.
Yep.
I see it. So that's all wooded and that's going to remain wooded.
Correct.
So what's going to happen to the area that was lawn? Is it just going to allow to just grow back in?
That's where I was suggested maybe we could be more strategic and plant something there that's friendly.
I guess that would be for the construction in the 50 to the 100, if maybe there was a little bit of vegetation or something there. And, to Amy's point, if maybe there could be a sign or something, similar to our wetlands.
Frank,
Things just about protecting that buffer.
Frank,
Yep.
have I been fired?
Oh, shoot. I jumped to Doug and I totally skipped. Richard?
I do have one question, actually. Do we need to restrict what happens with all the dirt that's going to be dug out for the pool?
Well, there's a limit of work there. And they got a silt sock, so.
So where's all the dirt going to go?
Probably in a dump truck.
Well, that's what
Down the road.
And we'll use some on site, obviously don't want to bring fill out and bring fill in.
Exactly. That's the only reason I raised the question.
Right. And that the yard area, I can work with the McGavins on adding some vegetation in that yard. It's a slope, mowed lawn, so there's some opportunity there to add some plantings,
I like
between the
idea of adding
retaining wall
plantings,
and
yeah.
the buffer.
I think
Okay.
Doug was right. I think we should have some plantings in there.
Okay.
Well, and you also, yeah, I think that they need to add the details of the pervious pavers, the retaining wall, like get us a little more detail on the project and how you're going to execute it too. But it sounds like what I'm hearing from the commission is that the new location is
Much better.
is better than the other location.
Yep.
It's just going to be a lot easier to put it in that location, it looks like,
So
from a
Brad,
design perspective.
do we want to, Amy, you thinking we can't close this and write those pieces in? You want to let Brad fill in the blanks and then?
Well, I think the engineer needs to put detail on the plan.
Okay,
as
but
far as
yeah, I just remember seeing these folks sort of being in a pickle between us and the ZBA.
Zoning.
So with this hearing, can you go back to the ZBA, do you think?
Well,
I would think they should be.
If we have a hearing coming up on the 14th, I believe
Yep.
it is. I think from what I'm getting out of the commission, you're supportive of the application. I think these could be special conditions that I could work with Amy and get them in, work with the engineer and get them in, rather not clog up another night for you. That way they can move on to the zoning board.
Okay, so what do you think? Can we close this and you guys can just put those in the orders?
I think so.
Is that
that's what I'd be asking for, yes.
Amy?
You guys can vote it however you want. It's just, it's much more difficult to get pieces of the puzzle after you've closed. But that it's, I'm sure we can come up with something.
Is there some way that you can give the ZBA information or something that would basically the commission appears to accept this in principle with some details? I know that this has gone back and forth over the.
In fact, I don't even know if it still triggers that same clause that it triggered before for a pool here, honestly, because I think what had triggered the ZBA was it was on a slope in the water protection area that was greater than, a certain ratio. And now they've moved it to an area that's already, it's not at that ratio. So maybe that negates the ZBA request. I don't know. I guess that's a question for the zoning enforcement officer.
Could we not send have a note prepared that says the new location looks positive? We just are holding out for a few additional details. Would that
Yeah, I
suffice
can
for zoning?
definitely email Bob and Anthony that you're supportive of the new location. I really just think it's missing detail. I mean, I think.
Yeah, right.
So the detail that you're asking for, Amy, is a detail on the pervious paver, which I think
the retaining wall, the pavers. Yeah.
More detail on the retaining wall and the pavers.
And the pool, like a profile of the pool, like how deep is it going to be? Maybe, I mean, if they've talked to a pool company, and I mean, usually the pool companies have maybe some of this information, but then the other part of it is what, an engineer would do and give us like percentages for pervious and impervious and like those numbers.
And that's on the plan, and I can get.
The only detail I think that I observed was the silt sock detail.
No, I mean, as far as the pervious versus impervious, I just want to make sure that we get the detail. And I don't see, I mean, the pervious patio is just a detail that's, very easily obtainable. That's not an engineered,
that's
drawing.
An engineered, no, that's an engineered spec.
Right, I get this spec from a pervious paving, detail. I'm sure the Conservation Commission has approved, similar pervious pavers. We'll make sure we get a similar paver system. Some more detail on the wall. The wall is going to be a concrete block wall from Scituate Concrete and Pipe. I can get you some more detail on that.
Okay, so that would be like how deep it is, you know what I mean? So they're gonna wanna know how deep the footing is and how tall the wall's gonna be.
Yep, the wall's depth is
If there's gonna be
103.5.
fill,
And-
that type of information, yeah.
Yep.
Looks like you don't have too much to get us, Brad.
So that's what I'm asking it. In an ideal world, if the commission voted tonight, we could get this to the commission within a week or so. You'd have 21 days to issue the order. They'd be in place for their zoning board of appeals and get this all wrapped up. I'll leave it at that.
I'm ready to close.
Okay, would we have to close and issue?
Can't issue.
I don't think you'd want to issue until you see the conditions.
All right, so let's take a motion to close.
I make a motion to close.
With getting the
With
information.
all the information needs to come in that Amy has asked for. And Brad said he'd get to us.
Okay, and that would include some sort of planting plan and maybe some signage or something, Brad, for.
On the side, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second from Jen.
Okay, all in favor? Richard?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Brendan?
Yes.
And Frank, yes. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Have a good night. 7 Dunbar Lane. And I think I saw an email from Art that said he could be available if we had a question for him.
He's on the call.
Great.
So, and we don't have to reopen this one. We can just get right into it.
Yep.
And I believe Greg is on the call.
Oh, excuse me.
Okay. Which Greg?
Morse.
Morse.
Okay.
And
Excellent.
Art Allen is also on the call, so I've unmuted at Art as well.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay. So Greg, if you're on.
Yep, thank you. Greg Morse, Morse Engineering, representing the property owner, Greg Kelleher. This was a notice of intent that was filed and it's been continued a couple of times. The project from when we originally filed it has been downsized. We originally were proposing a barn up along First Parish Road, as well as an addition to the house at number 7. We've removed all of the work associated with the barn, and so it's really just an addition project at this point for the existing home. That addition is the black bold line that you see outlined on the plan here. During the process, as you're aware, it was found that there had been wetland alteration and fill placed at this property over the years. Our wetland scientist, Brad Holmes, had put together a mitigation plan to restore those wetland areas. But as you recall, the wetland areas that were on record from a plan a long time ago were more extensive than what is realistically going to be replicated at this site. So what we proposed is we proposed 2 areas. We proposed the brown area that you see on this plan here as a wetland enhancement area. We proposed the darker green as a wetland restoration area. We presented this to the commission at the last meeting. Art Allen had some comments on it, as well as some of the commissioners wanted the area expanded. We did expand it with a small finger-like projection there at the southeasterly limit of the restoration area. We also updated our offsite mitigation. Again, where not all of the previous wetland area is being restored at this site, the applicant has provided a cost estimate so that that area that isn't being mitigated on the site, which is approximately 2,665 square feet, would be offset, and he would pay to the commission a fee of $5,150 that the commission could use for off-site mitigation or another project at the commission's discretion. But I turn it over to you. I think we've addressed the comments. We've revised the plan with that additional area of restoration. I turn it over to you.
Okay, thanks, Greg. Amy, how do you feel? Either you or I want to interject. I know I'd had some concerns.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely unusual case for the commission to handle an enforcement site like this, but I mean, with the enforcement, we all do hope that things can be worked out. This is a really tight site, so this is definitely an option that you could go for. I guess I'm still a little bit unsure of the waiver request and the fee calculation, and I'm not sure how that number was derived or whether we're supportive of that number or want to question that number. There's some improvement here. You know, we're getting the shed out of the resource area, so that's good. And we're getting a permitted site, which is good. So we would have orders. So those are positives. And also the owner would get an addition for his expanding family. So otherwise, Art, you want to add some words?
Sure. Art Allen from Ecotech, a peer reviewer for the commission. Yeah, I mean, I agree from kind of a scientific technical standpoint. I agree with the proposal in terms of, just the nuts and bolts of the combination of enhancement and on-site restoration. I think their numbers make sense for the off-site mitigation or alternative mitigation, based on my knowledge of costs, quite extensive working with replication and restoration projects. I think it all makes sense. I also, anecdotally am aware of some history on this site that evidently there was some, involvement of a prior agent and, things were said or, whatever. So I think there are some mitigating, factors that got to this point, just, but that's again, anecdotal. That being said, I'm just a little bit concerned that, in my opinion, there should be waivers requested. And if the commission chooses, granted, to let this project move forward, just because, they're proposing to leave disturbed area, that wasn't formally permitted within your setback zones, as well as this kind of novel approach to offsite mitigation with kind of a, in lieu fee payment. So those things, I think, I might recommend that those be, formally granted as waivers, given the extenuating circumstances on this project. It's probably unlike anything that, sorry about that, unlike anything that the commission has seen or may see in the future. So, and also the only other comment I had just technically was I had recommended some sort of signage along the proposed restoration and enhancement limits on site. I don't see that made it onto the site unless I missed it, Greg, made it onto the plan. Unless I missed it, it just seemed like that would be a good idea. And in addition, just to prevent future encroachment and disturbance if the commission chooses to allow this to move forward. So that's about it from me. Thank you.
Yeah, we didn't propose any signage, but we did propose a split rail fence to differentiate the lawn versus the restoration area. So if there was a condition that signage had to be put on the fence, I'm sure we could accommodate that.
Right. Yeah, that could be conditioned. Right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I jump to members, I want to understand this waiver. Is this like some sort of legal document just saying the commission is waiving some of the requirements in this area in lieu of the mitigation proposed?
Mitigation, yeah.
So that's essentially what we would add to that.
Yeah, if you're questioning me,
I'm sorry. Yes,
yeah. I mean, you have your standards and regulatory requirements for setbacks and things in there. They're proposing kind of leaving disturbed areas, lawn and things within those, plus the kind of alternative mitigation. So, those are things that basically you have your standards and they're asking you to waive those standards. So I mean, I just recommend procedurally that they do that formally as a waiver that the commission can grant, specific to this project, as opposed to just, it's a plan and we're going to approve it. It's a little, because the plan doesn't conform to your requirements.
I think that makes sense in a way. We're not setting a precedent or something by letting this go. It's going to be explained in that waiver. I see Jen Smith's already over there drafting a waiver as we're.
yeah. I mean, could be easily written up.
Sure. Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't want to jump in, but I wanted to kind of clean that one up a little bit. Okay. Who wants to tee off? Jen Foley.
Oh dear Lord. I was hoping you were going to go to Penny.
I can do that.
No. I think a lot of the comments back and forth recently with you, Frank, kind of cover a lot of it in terms of the signage. Would echo Amy's question around the amount calculation and kind of in that side of life, but this is a great step forward. So let's all move on with our lives.
Okay, thank you. Brendan? Brendan went out for a snack. Penny?
Yeah, I'm very happy with this. It's unfortunate things happened with another agent. We're not quite sure what the conversations there were. So I think this works out well. I was concerned about what the waiver was. Thank you, Frank, for asking that question for me. And I don't think that's a big deal. And we have taken funds in lieu of plantings before. So this is not, at least for Frank, myself, and I believe Richard, this is like the 4th time in my stint that we've done this, and to use it somewhere else for conservation. So I'm happy. I'm with Jen. I would like to, let's move forward now, and good luck on the project. I'm done.
Oh. Brendan?
Yeah, sorry I couldn't get
no, that's all right.
Muted there. My comment while I was muted was I was hoping you'd go with the Penny, but so it worked out. So I don't really have a lot more to add though. So I'll just keep it brief. I'm just it looks good. Yeah, pretty much what Penny and Jen said. That's it for me.
Thank you. Doug?
No, I'm good with it. Art has reasonable expectations that the restoration area will work, that the vegetation will take and it'll work. So that was my concern. And then, so as far as the waiver goes, as far as I know, we don't actually have a formal waiver request like other boards do we?
No.
So are we going to write something up?
Simple.
So yeah, I guess maybe we should consider
No,
something
the
like
way
that.
it works is the applicant is going to request the waiver, and then
Oh, okay.
and then you'll vote it, or either that, or I think procedurally you could just vote to accept it before you have it. But
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I guess that's what I was trying to get to procedurally, how we do that. So if we close this and accept that waiver, then you can
Move it.
you can handle the language of it, Amy. So we don't have to.
no, Greg.
Are we gonna have to bring it? We're gonna have to bring. No, I mean he'll
write something up that
accept it.
requests the waiver. I think it's more simple than we're making it up to be. Honestly, we can have Art look at it even or whatever, but it's just waivers from what the from what your bylaw, the requirements of your bylaw. So where they're varying from that is what they're going to ask for a waiver from.
Okay, but he doesn't have to bring it forward in another meeting.
I think we could close it subject to that
Okay.
formal request being received. So I think
Okay.
there's a way to close this tonight.
That's what I'd rather do, if we can do that,
Yeah.
so he doesn't have to come back again. All right.
Over. Done.
Richard?
All right, good.
No, I can picture the waiver. I don't think it's a very difficult thing at all that Greg might write. And as long as there's signage and we get the waiver, I'm good to close.
Okay. Anybody, we have anybody in the audience for this one? Penny's, you're not in the audience, but you're waving.
No, but I do have one quick
Go
comment.
ahead. Yep.
The $5,000. I would like it stipulated, we want that tomorrow. Not, you understand what I'm saying, Frank. I don't want like on Third Cliff,
Yep.
10 years later.
One of the thoughts I had on that, Penny, was we have funds from Toll Brothers for the Scituate Brook, and since this
Right.
abuts the
Oh, I
Scituate
know,
Brook,
yeah, yeah.
I'm wondering if we just can't add that
You
monies.
can put it wherever you want.
Well,
I would just like to see it. I don't want it to get lost like
You
some
don't
other-
want an IOU.
Yeah,
Okay.
down the
Yeah,
road.
well, there's a lot of things that need to be done up front, Penny, honestly.
Yeah, but that's very
'Cause, like,
important.
The way, the parts where the commission ends up losing control on orders is usually after the building's already built.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's why we write it so that the restoration is done up front.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then subject, so we write it that way. And I agree, because in my experience, what I've seen, at least on that one project you just mentioned,
yeah,
you wrote it into the orders, but then that applicant walked. And so, and I know I'm tasked to try to retrieve that money, but it's, that guy won't even talk to us.
Well,
So,
I want town council to talk to him, but that's.
yeah.
Okay.
All
But
right.
that's a separate matter.
So
All right, yeah,
I'll
let's
make
get on with this one.
a motion to close.
Well, hold on
Oh,
now.
oh,
We have
wait,
a
wait.
hand up.
Yeah.
All right. Greg Davy.
Oh, okay.
How you doing? Greg Davy, 51st Parish Road.
Hi, Greg.
Just a few questions here. The tip of that extended wetlands that borders the I think it's the willow tree. How far is the tip of that until the setback from 51st Parish Road? That's one question. The other question is, the lines, all of the setbacks and wetlands lines haven't been adjusted to reflect the new plan. They kind of seem to be, reflect the original plan. I'm just curious whether that entire area in that little elbow is within wetland, within the 50-foot buffer at this point, or if it's, just how far it extends.
Greg, can you give an approximate?
Sure. From the tip of that finger there, as it extends up to First Parish Road, that certainly is within the 100-foot buffer. Okay. The distance from that finger to First Parish Road itself is a little over 105 feet. So about half of it is in the 50. The remainder is essentially all within the 100-foot.
Okay, so that would make, by adopting this proposal and these new wetland boundaries, that would make this previously unbuildable portion buildable.
I'm not following you.
Well, you could build a structure up along without encroaching on the 50-foot buffer zone.
Well, I don't know how that impacts our wetlands, Mr. Davey. I mean, if you're concerned about construction around your house, I get your concerns, but what we're trying to do is resolve an issue with regard to the wetlands piece here. And we've had considerable dialogue back and forth with the applicant. I mean, I looked at this, and after the last hearing, I was kind of disappointed in myself for not bringing up the fact that the sewer line that was run down there probably has contributed to Mr. Kelleher's issues because it's embedded or it's laid in stone. So I think he's getting the impact of drainage from that sewer line that was put in there, which is unfortunate for him. There's a lot of circumstances around this property that contribute to these pieces. So what we're trying to do is come up with a replication that makes sense for this property.
Yeah, I hear you, but
so our concern is to get that part done. It's not to preclude someone. I think Mr. Keller said he's pulled that piece from the table, but we're not drawing wetlands lines for that reason. We've got a consultant, wetlands consultant, that's looked at the mitigation, and we've got a commission that's looked at it and an engineer. So but they will have to redraw a plan if something else was submitted. Right now, they're showing where the wetlands lines are in regard to the wetland or the setbacks as regard to the wetlands that's been drawn on this plan. And so now with a new piece, if anything was to come before that, the new wetlands would come off of the plan that's been, or the revision once it's done. Until that's constructed, this, I mean, you can extrapolate those lines if you want to.
Yeah, I can. I was just trying to clarify the point that
okay.
You know, I can see the approximate of it. And you know, here's the thing. I get that you're trying to restore the wetlands and come up with a you know, a plan there. But you know, in my approximation and my memory, we're not really duplicating what was there. And I think it's fair to come up with a structure that allows Greg to build his dwelling, his dwelling. So you're obviously taking that into account. So you're taking more than wetlands is being taken into account here. You're taking into account the, you know, being able to help out with the applicant, which I think is the right thing to do. But you're making a previously unbuildable piece of property that's next to me and hovering over my house, now potentially buildable by altering of the wetland lines. And
maybe I'm wrong, but in terms of grade, I think your house is quite a bit higher than his.
It is. So, but it sits kind of in a middle layer. If you look at the top part of the now buildable section, that's probably about 6 feet above mine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and kind of right over my patio. I just you know, wanted to point this point out. I've mentioned it many times. I've asked for participation in numerous letters. And you know, I haven't had a chance to evaluate this, but
okay. Well, I think we've been on most of the hearings before, so I don't think we've been excluded.
Well, okay.
Okay, go ahead. Is there something else?
I mean, I think I've said what I've said. I just don't think that you know, that we're doing the right thing by creating you know, a buildable lot, because you know
This is already a buildable lot. I'm not quite, I don't understand your.
Creating a section of the lot that is buildable. I'm talking about the section along First Parish by the redrawing of the wetlands lines. And while I don't mind them being redrawn to accommodate what Greg wants to do down below, they're being redrawn in a way that makes the original proposal, with the exception of some additional wetlands and some monies paid to the town, it could be reverted back, because it leaves the opportunity open for a further proposal to put a barn back into the plan. So while the barn isn't on the plan is accommodating a future barn.
I think that the plan is trying to deal with the infractions that were there before and what exists on the lot. And that's what we're trying to get to.
Sure, but the wetlands have shown there that the wetlands were well past where that oak tree was. I'm sorry, not the oak tree. The willow tree were in the past, which would have made the elbow within the 50-foot buffer, at least the majority of it.
I think the commission has had numerous conversations with our consultant looking at this, and I think we've come up with something that.
I know, Frank, I hear you there, but I asked in letters to the commission if I could have my consultants present and discuss these things and be notified when site visits were done and all that type of thing.
I really don't see that where this would change much, to be honest. Does anybody else on the commission want to comment to that?
Well, I guess I could. I'm looking at the old plan, I guess. How are you thinking that finger down towards First Parish was unbuildable before? Because there's still upland there. I mean, they would, anything they do, they would have to present in front of the commission, but then the commission could approve it or not. So I don't see how that's changed.
It hasn't.
Mr. Davey.
If you go and unmute him, Mr. Dave.
I'm just trying to understand the.
Doug, you're correct. Some portion of it, it would be, but not certainly to the extent. I mean, if you look at the former plan, the wetlands actually, goes above the above that lot line that's along Dunbar Lane, and so you're talking about a 10-foot difference. So possibly you could have got like an 8-foot structure there or a shed or something like that, but now it's really been extended to where you could build a barn.
Yeah, I mean, so you're talking about the difference in feet there.
I am, yes.
Okay, not the whole area. So, and not that we routinely do that, but I mean, some commissions in some towns allow building in the 50. I just don't know any way to. It's not unbuildable is what I'm saying. It's just, it's all a matter of permitting, and it's up to the commission to allow or disallow how much construction they want. By state regulations, there is no touch zone. So I mean, I know what I guess I see what you're saying, that you're looking at, you've got another 10 feet there that he could build something that much bigger. Not without coming in front of the commission in any case. And that is the same as previously.
Yeah.
So it's still up to the commission to allow or not. I think normally we try to discourage any construction in the 50. But I don't think there's any way that this was ever going to be, just completely unbuildable.
I think I was asking for the return of what was previously there. I wasn't,
It's not gonna happen.
Okay. Is there anything else? Anybody else? Any commission members want to speak to that?
Nope.
I have a point that I want to make. And that is that where they're replicating the wetland. So now that's wetland, right? So their buffers shift.
Right.
So I just wanted Art to maybe let us know a little bit how that works.
Yeah, Art Allen. So, I mean, these areas will be on the plan as wetlands. I'm suggesting, and I think you're going to condition signage for these areas. So any future project that comes in will show these restored and enhanced wetlands, and they'll have to show buffers associated with them for any future project.
Yeah. Right.
Thanks, Art.
All right. Anybody else? Do we want to?
I want to make a motion.
Go ahead, Penny.
I make a motion to close and the waiver, is that part of the closing? How should I?
There will be a request for a waiver made.
And I will request a waiver.
And the signage.
On the sign.
Yeah. Not I will, and the applicant.
Yeah, no, well, we will, the commission.
Amy, you want to tune that up a little bit?
Yeah, you can tune it up.
Okay, subject to a request for a waiver by the applicant for the portions of the bylaw that they are asking to waive. So formal request, yeah, signage, and then, I mean, there's going to be other special conditions relating to the enhancement and the replication, and
oh yeah,
you know, all the standard stuff. So.
Okay.
And the sooner, and then also that in lieu of payment, I mean, I've got to look up some wording on how you guys did that in the past.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's complicated.
All right, so right now we have a motion to close. Do I have a second?
I'll second
that.
Doug got it.
I think Richard beat you to it. So all in favor, Doug?
Yes.
Jen?
Yep.
Brandon?
Yes.
And Frank, yes. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. All right, thanks for all your participation as well.
No problem, glad to help. Have a good night.
Too.
You too, Art.
Okay.
Now we're going to open the next one.
533 Country Way. On Richard, what time do you have to leave?
7:30.
Okay, see if we could do this one.
Minutes.
On June 6, 2022 at 6 p.m. in the Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700, Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Marvell Homes LLC for work related to removing a concrete wall, installing a new bituminous concrete sidewalk, installing a portion of stormwater management system and common driveway at location of 533 Country Way, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the virtual meetings available on the agenda posted on the town website. So we have someone from Ross Engineering.
I don't think Paul is on the call, but Steve Bjorklund is on the call, so I think he's going to present and for Paul tonight. So I'm going to unmute Stephen.
Wow, he finally got an honest paying job.
I wanted to see his stamp.
Thanks, Doug.
I'm sorry, Steve. Couldn't resist.
Okay, now I'm unmuted, obviously. I don't know whether you can see me or not see me, not that that makes a difference.
We can.
It's probably helpful to you. Okay.
Okay. I'm looking pretty good tonight, so we're going to try and do this one as quickly as we can. I promised Jen, so hopefully I'm going to speed it up a little bit. Normally, a stormwater on something like this could come to the Conservation Commission, but because there was a common driveway involved in this, the planning board took jurisdiction over the entire building site of lots 1 and 2. If you guys know, there was an existing house on this site that was taken down and rather a large barn. There is existing still a driveway on the north side of this property as it comes in from Country Way, which is going to be used for the access to this through most of the construction of the site. And it's been going through the planning board, I want to say almost for a year now. It's probably the most extensive stormwater system that the town of Scituate has ever seen for 2 single-family homes. We are right at the finishing stages with the planning board. And some of you guys know this was actually filed about a year ago, I believe. Amy, correct me if I'm wrong. And it's been waiting for all the stormwater items to be handled by the planning board. So really what you guys are looking at for the most part here is we're doing some work between the 50 and the 100. And that is a new driveway entrance. And under the direction of DPW, we are taking out an old concrete retaining wall, which really encroaches into the Countryway layout, if you can see that on the plan. Mm-hmm. And we are going to regrade that area and put new retaining walls back on the actual lots 1 and 2. So we are doing work from the edge of the pavement in Countryway to the edge of the layout under the direction of DPW and putting in a new, much safer sidewalk than what's there right now. If anybody's been by the site, I think the sidewalk is barely 3 feet wide in some locations. So on either side of this property, north and south, the sidewalk is substantially in better condition. So we're going to match up to that and make sure that the sideway is safe for everybody who passes through there. The new wall that's going to go in there is actually one of the block walls. And they've got a name of it here, if I can. Where am I? Stabilized that. Give me just a second here. Let's say they called it like a red rock wall or something, but plan is also, the stormwater plan is 7 pages long. So I've got to find the right detail for it if I can. It's called a ready rock wall. So there's a proposed landscape ready rock wall. And the elevation of the top of that actually changes from about 56 to 58 at the top of the wall. So if you looked at the site today, it's actually going to be cut into the embankment, and the embankment behind it on the site is going to be regraded for both of the infiltrator systems, which you can see on the plan. As far as the stormwater itself is concerned, in every storm event that was tested here and reviewed, there is less water coming off the site. And you can tell we're infiltrating as much as we possibly can on this site. And there also is what they call the downstream defender, or a hydrostorm system, which is just north of the new entrance to the driveway. And that is something that cleans up all the sediment that's coming down the driveway itself. Will all be channeled into a drain, which leads into that unit, and then into the infiltration system, which is on lot number 2. So we are in the Water Resource Protection District. So we were held to the highest standard that Scituate has when this was being designed. It's been a very lengthy process, but I think that this is going to really take care of all that stormwater stuff. So there will be temporary erosion control measures around the catch basin that is in front of the site. Most of the water presently there goes into that catch basin and travels across the street into an easement on the property that's directly across the street. The town already has an existing easement there for the water. Our water will be less in every storm event going to that basin. We can't control what the town does, but in our situation, we are going to be putting less water and cleaner water into the ground with this proposal. I'll answer any questions if anybody has any questions.
Okay. Amy, can you I just want to be sure we're dealing with just what our purview is on this. Obviously, we're happy to see the stormwater piece, but it looks like the planning board's dealing with all of that. So we're in the 50-100.
Yeah, Frank. So, I mean, this plan, or at least the way it's shown on my screen, it's really hard to see where the 100-foot buffer is. You have to look real hard, but it's an arc. It's an arc that, you know,
I mean, it's
apex is in the driveway, but basically the wetlands are across the street.
Yeah.
And they were flagged as part of a actually for a Title V repair within the last year.
Yes.
But anyways, and so that's what kicked in our jurisdiction. But so this was filed as a notice of intent, and we with orders will be accepting the stormwater permit as well, because that's the way our permits work.
Right.
But anyways, it, like Steve said, has been a pretty lengthy and complicated review that's happened over the last, I think it's been 10 months actually. I think it was filed in like August. But anyway, so we waited to try to get, you know, everything worked out before it came to you, and they're in the home stretch. In fact, I don't think they've closed. The planning board hasn't closed, but this is the plan that they will be closing on. DEP had no comment, but I do think that it's something that has been very thoroughly reviewed by John Chesia, and met with an abutter who had concerns about drainage, you know, along Country Way and impacts to the wetland across the street, and how they feel it's, you know, growing in size, not getting smaller. And so there's frustrations, I think, along the stretch of country with respect to drainage. But
okay, but I guess my point is that the drainage in this piece was the purview of the planning board, and that's been dealt with. So that's not part of, basically, like, it's because
very thoroughly reviewed. Yes,
we're talking about the between the 50 and the 100, and as you point out, this is on the other side of the road. So there's Olive Country Way between this and the wetlands plus some.
Yeah, and what's not easily identified on this plan, I don't think, in it's not that it needs to be, but there is a drainage easement that the town has across the street. And so there's a series of storm drains in Country Way that tie together and discharge out to that swamp.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
But it's a pretty well-traveled part of country that people, you know, speed. And so a sidewalk is going to be a big improvement, and the wall looked like it needs repair. So I think that could be good too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. wants to, Doug, you want to, looks like a lot of lines on a plan. Why don't you take this one?
Yeah, it does have a lot of lines on there.
You say you could start with Rich because he's going to leave in a minute.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah, let's go with Rich.
Well, you can go with me and you're going to wish you didn't because I really don't have a lot to say. There's too many lines for me to understand. No, if it's been this well vetted, I don't see that we have really a tremendous amount of questions that I would think of.
No.
Thank you.
And I thank you for letting me go first.
Good move. Thanks, Richard. Have a good evening.
Thank you all.
So Doug, now it's your turn.
Yeah, there's a lot of contour lines. That's, you know, that's, I have to teach Paul how to make a vectorized PDF file so it's clear. But I won't go down that rabbit hole.
Thanks.
Maybe you can get Steve to do that.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I do know the process that they're going through with a common driveway, and it is extensive, and I don't see that we need to. It's on, and the BVW is on the other side of the road.
Right.
Yes.
But you just look at this infiltration system, it is pretty substantial. So I have no doubt, especially with John Chesia reviewing it, he's very thorough. And so I don't really have any questions that pertain to that.
Okay.
So I'm good.
Thank you. Penny?
No, I'm fine. It's good.
Okay. Jen? Foley?
Yeah, no, I love a good sidewalk, and Stephen is totally correct. It's very narrow there. So this will be a great improvement for everybody who walks on that road.
Thank you. Brendan?
Yeah, I don't have anything for this. No question.
Do we have anybody in the audience for this?
Being none, Frank.
No.
Okay. Steve, just one quick question. Where's the septic system for the
They're way up on the west side of the property, Frank. So they're almost off of this particular plan. Again, the common driveway is a 2-sheet plan. The stormwater plan is a 7-sheet plan in order to be able to show everything. But if you look at the locus map, you see how it's darkened in the site and there's a tail that goes way to the west?
Yeah.
So both of the leaching fields are way up to the west-hand side.
Okay, I saw the tank and stuff off the house on the north, but I didn't see a tank on the.
Yeah, they both go way up to the west. So
all the leaching's up on the hill.
Feet. Yeah, they're 150 to 200 feet away from the wetlands, and the leaching fields are further than that.
Good.
The only other thing I would mention just quickly is the soils in the front of this property where the infiltration systems are going were literally like 30 seconds an inch for a perk rate. So it was probably the best perk I've seen in 40 years in Scituate.
The house to the north of this was even better.
Oh, yes.
I missed that one. Some other guy built that one.
Okay. No, I have experience right next door, and we found good materials, and it is tricky because these lots slope down towards Country Way to create a acceptable stormwater is a lot of work, and it certainly looks like they couldn't have added any more to this if they tried.
No.
Okay.
I make a motion.
If there's nobody in the audience and everyone's satisfied with their questions.
Okay, I'll make a motion to close.
So that's Penny. I'll take a second.
Second from Jen.
Okay, all in favor? Doug?
Yes.
Brendan?
Yes.
And Frank, yes. Great.
Okay, thank you guys very much, and I look forward to seeing this sidewalk done. Jen's correct, it's really bad, so I'm looking forward to improving this.
Thanks,
I love
Steve.
it.
Thank you, guys.
Good night.
See you later.
So on administrative items?
Yes, the first administrative item is well, I don't think it's a request for a minor modification. It's a request to amend existing orders for 141 Driftway. If you recall, this was a site that was just permitted just last year or whatever, and it's right right past the Go Green, and it was a lot where there's one lot that was subdivided into 3 different houses. One was the multifamily, 2 single family, and they were going to connect to the sewer main in the back. Do you recall any of this, guys?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Well, so apparently what happened was only one of the buildings got approved for sewer. So now the 2 are, the amendment request is for Title V compliant systems on 2 of the single families. And so there was a stormwater on that, and I mean, I'm suggesting that probably this is one that could be amended. And we actually have the review process underway with between Morse and actually Chesia, who's the engineer on this one. And that's in process. So if you accept the request to amend, we'll put the legal ad in the paper and move forward at the next meeting or the meeting after that, as soon as we can get them on.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Actually, Amy, they're putting Title V septic systems there right next to the sewer treatment plant?
Yes.
They wouldn't give them
Really?
the hookups, Frank. Please, yeah.
Greg Morris has raised his hand. He might have some fun tidbits to share with us.
Okay.
Or maybe not fun, but tidbits nonetheless.
Yeah, Greg?
Thank you. I'm the original designer for the homes at 141 Driftway. Yeah, if this could all be put on the next hearing, we'd appreciate it being done as expeditiously as possible. We had anticipated tying all 3 homes into the town sewer. We met with the sewer department. We were advised that we'd be able to. Building permits were issued and signed off on with connections to the town sewer. But 2 of the homes are almost at their ending right now. They're just being wrapped up, 2 of them. And we've been advised that they will not be allowed to tie in. So we're looking at putting in Title V systems there. It is on pure sand and gravel.
It's insane.
To the rain gardens. We had to shift them to comply with a 50-foot setback from where the septics are. But if it could be done at the next meeting, we'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay.
Do we need a motion, Frank?
I mean, we're just gonna take this at the next meeting, right?
Yeah, if you remember if you make a motion or not for the request, I think you do. Just make a motion to accept.
I'll just do it.
The request, but to be
motion
after
that we accept the request for existing orders to be what?
Amended. Just amended, but
amended.
Right. And then at the next meeting when they're advertised for, or at the meeting that they are advertised for, hopefully it'll be the next meeting. Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully. But anyways, then Greg will present the details.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you'll get the presentation with all the bells and whistles then.
Somebody want to second that crazy motion?
I second that motion.
It's crazy.
I'm not even gonna try to figure that out.
Oh, God.
Okay, all in favor, Doug?
Yeah, I'm gonna start singing.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yes.
Ooh, okay. And Brendan?
Yes.
You're not. Great. Let's not even try to hum that tune. And Frank, yes. Okay, Greg, thanks for that. Okay, what's next?
The next in queue is enforcements. So I put ratify orders for all the sites listed out there. I think I think you could make one motion to ratify all of those enforcement orders.
Well, do we still need the Dunbar, Amy, where they've come in with a new plan and?
Oh, good point. Yeah, we could probably just strike that one in since it got rolled into, it's getting rolled into orders. Yep.
Amy, what happened? There was a big one here for Oak on Glades on.
Yep.
It's not here anymore.
Oh, it's on my list.
Oh, okay.
It must just be left off. No, it should be 208 CJC 5 Cushing, or you know, the 184 CJC 150 First Parish, and then the 83 through 87 Glades should all be on there.
Yeah.
Yes, sorry, that's an oversight. Sorry about that.
Oh, get it together, Amy.
Wow, Jen.
I mean, it's not like you have anything to do with all these papers surrounding you. Dear Lord.
Yeah,
I don't know how
so
you keep this all straight. Thank
as
you.
far as like the ratification of the enforcement orders, it's just right now they are signed, I think either by me or just by Frank. And so it's important for the entire commission to get signatures on these EOs in case, you know, we start having problems with them, I guess you could say.
Will they be ready for a signature tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay, I can come in tomorrow.
I think they're in the folder. And then, so that's just the vote for the ratifying. And then I can give a little bit of an update on the CJC ones, because I can see that some people are on the line for that. And, but I don't know if you want to make the motion first or what you want to do.
Let's make the motion to ratify them.
Okay, I have a motion.
I make a motion that we ratify.
I second.
Okay.
Second from Jen. All in favor? Doug?
With the exception of 150 First Parish Road, because I'm recused from that one. The rest, yes.
All right, so without Doug, we have
Brendan.
Penny, Brendan, Jen, and I. Okay. Yep. We have 4. Okay.
And that's for, we'll just read them off again, the addresses. So 208 CJC 5 Cushing, or 184 CJC 150 First Parish, 83 83R, 85 and 87 Glades, which are all of the Oak development sites. And there was Penny made the motion, there was a second. Okay, good.
Okay, so all in favor? Did I do that?
Yeah, you started with me.
Yeah, okay, good. Okay.
Moving on.
So what else do we have? Do we want to discuss any more of that?
Well, yeah, so just going back quickly to the CJC properties, Pacheco and Keaveney. So I have draft versions of peer review, like comment letters on both of them, but I don't know, they're not final yet, so I haven't obviously, so I haven't distributed them to the owners yet. But basically, the long and the short of it is that they both lack information. So we'll be calling out the information that's missing in the findings letters from Bob Gray. And so I think the discussion, you know, that's really all we have for tonight.
Okay.
All right, I think we gotta, I did see some correspondence or a letter with some concerns for 5 Cushing, that maybe they're not.
Or Keaveney, yeah, that he's, the footprint is not what was on the approved plan.
Right.
There is a request that we received from their engineer to make that change, but you haven't approved it yet. And actually, until we get this enforcement matter sorted out, I would be hesitant to give formal approval for any changes.
So have they already made the change? Are they already working in violation?
That's what's been said, but I'm not sure if that's 100% true or not.
Okay.
Oh, get down there.
And Amy, I think one of the parts that, so you're saying that they're due to come before us for an amendment is for this piece?
No, there was a request for a minor change for what had been a deck to be framed in as like a porch instead.
Okay. And so they're asking that for that as a minor modification?
Yeah, I think as a minor administrative change is what I recall.
All right. But we haven't even looked at that.
Yeah, well, I've looked at it briefly, but I haven't given, as I said, I haven't signed off on it at this point.
Yeah, I think given, to be honest, I mean, it's your discretion on that, but given the other things that are going on that site, I think the commission would like to be involved in as much of it as possible. Just not
willy-nilly.
Really thrilled.
Yeah, no, I would agree. And I was already thinking that because in fact, I mean, would be like the second change because they already did make a slight change and shift in like angle of the house.
Well, I think they need to be
maybe coming
back for permission rather than is it okay after it's built? That's for sure. And so I definitely think that should be happening, and I think that you should let them know that we don't want them to make any other changes until they're approved.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that actually maybe we'll have Bob Gray weigh in on this, but since on that particular one, maybe it will be either a new notice or a request to amend existing orders. Mm-hmm. And then we can incorporate the restoration plan into that as well. That might be one way to give it extra weight.
Right. Because, and then the other part of it is still with all these cuttings. I mean, my goal was to come up with some sort of monetary value of the damage on both these sites, and then get some sort of bond or whatever from both these parties mm-hmm. to cover that those issues. And I'm hoping that we can get that. You've got a review or you've got the consultants, I guess, reviewing it. Bob's made his report.
Yeah, well, he has some comments, but he hasn't finalized all of his comments yet. But yeah, so once we have those final comments, we'll give them. But basically, I mean, you know, there's information that's missing before you're even be able to put a number on it. So it's very frustrating, to tell you the truth, because I don't know.
Well, I mean, I saw part of Bob's report that said he didn't think they had all the right information. And so has that gone back to the applicant?
No, because his letter is still in draft. So as soon as he finalizes it, we'll let it go in final form.
All right. I guess we'll try to meet and look at that and make sure we've got everything covered. But I think that's the goal, to do that as soon as we can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I think any changes, I'm sure you have the discretion to do some of those, but my concern is the way things are moving around there with both those properties. I think it's fair to have that discussed at a meeting where abutters and other people can listen to it as well. I mean, they're certainly frustrated by what's gone on there.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? You want to move on to certificates of compliance?
Yeah, let's do it.
72 Surfside and 2 Lighthouse.
Those all set, Amy?
Yep, they're all set up there, and there's 109 River Street that's also on my list.
Okay.
Yep, and that's not a motion, but we are issuing those. And our, just so you know, our requests for certificate of compliance for the year are up quite a lot.
Everyone's selling.
Yeah, well, well, I mean, think about it, right? So if we're up on, you know, the 2960s for numbers, so that means there's like 2,900 and some odd files that we have, and there's a lot of those that don't have CFCs.
They don't care until they want to sell.
Yeah.
Anyways, can we do the orders of condition?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion. We accept 97 Central, 196 Central, and 317 Gannett as written.
Okay, that's a motion from Penny. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
It's Brendan.
Thank you, Brendan.
You're very welcome.
Who wouldn't second your motion, Penny?
Usually Richard does because he reads them too. So.
Oh, wow.
Well, that's all right. You don't all read them.
Yeah. All in favor, Doug?
Yes.
Jen?
Yep.
Frank, yes. Good, thank you. All right. Signage for the spit, how are we doing there?
Okay, so I just wanted to put that on, just so you were aware that part of also what we do is, you know, we are caretakers of property or whatever. Our name is on the beaches, and the spit, for one, has birds, and so they've got the threatened birds, and this is the time of year when they nest. And so Audubon is actually the primary monitor out there, in collaboration with Scituate PD. And so if people are out there and they're wondering, it's pretty clear because there's a lot of signage about where you need to stay out of, but basically all the nesting areas are roped off. And they are having some trouble with dogs on the spit, and people with unleashed dogs. Of note is that there are no dogs actually allowed on Scituate beaches in the height of the summer. I think it's like June 15 to mid-September. So that really shouldn't be happening. People shouldn't be bringing their dogs out there, but they do have a tendency to go, if they are there, up into the sensitive areas where these little critters are. So anyways, one of the other ways that we try to get the message out there that, you know, there are sensitive species subject to protection is with signage. And apparently a popular way to get to the spit is walking out the boardwalk off a 3rd. And there is a sign there that's pretty worn. So we were asked by Audubon if we could help replace that sign and maybe add signage elsewhere too. So we're coordinating with police with that. But yeah, it's June 15 to September 15th. Dogs are not permitted on any beach, even on a leash, between 10 and 6.
Yeah, right.
So there was concern, you know, like, well, what happens if there's a beach goer at 7? You know, they're not technically breaking the rules. And if dogs get up there and they disturb a nest, it's what they consider that a taking. And takings for threatened species are not good, because that's ultimately Scituate land and Scituate property. So in the town, as caretaker, has a responsibility to keep people out. So I mean, I don't know at this point if it's like I know that police had a bigger presence out there in past years, and I've been told that maybe it's less this year because of funding. I'm not certain about that, but anyways, you know, the town definitely wants to be in good standing. So.
Right. Did we ever find some of the signs we had, or was that really critical, or?
Well, you know what, actually, I'm just gonna use the sign that's up there that's like kind of worn out and just go off of that. But okay. No, we don't have any signs that are pre-made.
Okay. All right.
Anyways, and so I see Dave Friedman has his hand up because was on the agenda. Did we skip over him?
No.
Right? Anyways, the agenda has him on it, and he is on it. So, and actually we did say it in the beginning of the meeting that we were gonna talk about open space, but so okay. I believe that that's probably why he's
that's too bad. We didn't need to hold him up. Yeah, let's get Dave on.
Okay.
Sorry.
What, you're going to the kayaks? That's all. You're just going back one.
Okay.
Am I on?
You are.
Great. So I just wanted to speak to you guys, and thanks for the opportunity here. I'm talking as a member of the Waterways Commission, and for about 1.5 years or so, we've been talking about increasing safe access to our beautiful Scituate waters with paddleboards and paddlecraft. All kind, like we're calling them paddlecraft, everything from kayaks to canoes and paddleboards. We thought the best opportunity to start this program would be with a small kayak rack at the conservation park. And I met with Andrew, who I guess is not on this meeting, to talk about where we might install these racks. And we talked about maybe just behind the row of bushes that are along the Driftway as the first set of racks in Scituate. We're thinking about Scituate Maritime Center and maybe some other areas around town, but we thought of a small set of kayak racks that would be administered by the harbor master to start this process off. And we've developed a set of conditions that the kayak applicants would fill out and agree to. And we're just talking about the boating season from May 15th to October 15th. And we're just looking for, obviously you got this areas under your jurisdiction, and we're looking for your approval to put 2 kayak racks there as a start.
Okay.
How many kayaks in each rack?
So Penny, we were talking about somewhere between 12 and 15. And we actually, we don't want to, this is Waterways Commission money. We don't want to spend a ton of money on these things. We just got an offer from Kent Fab to create or produce 2 aluminum racks. And without going through the whole redesign process, they happened to show us 2 racks that had 8 kayaks each on them. So we're talking about 16 total kayaks now, for a maximum of 16. We were talking about 12 as a start, but because he had designs for those racks in stock, we're just looking for maybe up to a maximum of 16 for right now.
How do you decide who gets these racks?
It's going to be a lottery.
Okay.
And Penny also, so it wouldn't be a lifelong thing where if you happen to get one, you pass it down to your kids and all that stuff. We have talked about the idea of each year, it's a new lottery.
I think that's a good idea to give more people an opportunity if we're putting some racks out there instead of just the same ones getting it over and over.
I agree with that, Penny. And, you know, kids use it and, you know, so the mom could drive or the dad could drive 2 15-year-olds down and they could go They wouldn't take up parking spaces. They would just drop the kids off, go kayak for a couple hours and come back and then put their kayak back on the raft.
Are they locks on those kayak racks?
They are required to lock them, and the town has absolutely no responsibility.
No response.
No, I mean, we actually, I think, had a legal look at it, and it's the TA is involved, and it says in the application, you know, number one, we have no responsibility or liability. They have to be absolutely marked so that if the harbor master happens to see a kayak floating around on the river in the harbor, which is a big issue, that they have a phone number on it. So we can make sure that nobody's missing if the kayak happens to end up in the water. And then after October 15th, when they're supposed to be out, at some point after that, they become town property. Not that we want them, but, you know, get your kayak off the rack at the end of the season.
So you will be monitoring that? Oh, the harbor master will.
In effect, the Waterways Commission through the harbor master's office.
Yeah. I just don't want it to become a dumping ground for kayaks. That's all.
Absolutely not. I mean, and the police will also be involved, Penny, in monitoring it.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Doug, you got any thoughts or questions? It is unfortunate that Andy, we've been talking to Andy some about the Driftway Park, and he had to go to a meeting tonight or travel or something. So, but we've been speaking with David for a while about this. So, Doug?
No, it actually sounds like a good thing to me. Good idea.
Jen?
So will the racks be removed?
No, we're thinking of leaving them there right now. Frank, you had originally talked about maybe some wood racks and something really nice. And again, this is a little bit, I won't call it a pilot, but it's our first step in getting kayak access to all of our waterways around the town. So we're thinking about just effectively leaving them there if that's approved by you guys. They are mobile. I mean, I don't know how much they weigh, but you know, they're going to be somewhere near, I'd say 7 feet wide and maybe I'd say 12 feet deep, aluminum. So, you know, not heavy, but we're intending to leave them there.
I guess I haven't thought a ton about this. A lot of my original questions, I feel like you've addressed. I just didn't get that level of detail before this. So I'm happy that you're providing that. Without thinking about it too much, I think I would prefer if the racks were removed, just given how rough the winter storms can be. So, and if they're mobile, then I would definitely want to move them as opposed to leaving them there.
I hear you. I mean, it's pretty far up on the land there, you know, right up against the driftway, basically behind those bushes is where we're proposing them to start. And they could be moved. I don't know where we'd put them, but I don't know that much. I don't know that much about our storage space, but I understand your concern.
Yeah. That would be, I think that's my remaining concern is just them staying there outside of the boating season.
Are you worried about them getting damaged or them causing damage to other things?
Well, without anything on them, and if they're mobile,
they're going to get moved.
They're going to get potentially rocked about a bit. Like if they're mobile, let's move them.
All right, I'll look into that.
They get moved.
Yeah, I think that would be the thing that would hold back me feeling better about this.
And we could anchor them, obviously, with a block or something.
Have you seen how innovative children are these days, Dave?
Yeah, well, I hear you.
Okay, Brendan?
Yeah, I like the idea. Yeah, I would welcome having some kayak racks. around town. I don't know that I'm so tied to the moving of them. Moving things opens up, you know, possibilities for damage, or where are we going to put them? But anyway, but that's really secondary. Yeah, I think it's great.
Okay. Amy, do you want to add anything else to this?
Well, I believe that we're just one of a few other boards that need to support this idea. I mean, certainly we'd be looking at it from custodians of the property, but then also with respect to potential impacts to the beach there, then in the river and the flood zone. I mean, recreationally, I think that it sounds like a good idea, management wise. In theory, I don't know, sometimes projects like this can get kind of complicated. I don't know, I've just heard stories about in other towns how this kayak racks actually at the end of the day did not really work out so well. You know, misuse, overuse, lack of policing, that sort of thing. But on the other side, you know, there's I don't know, like, is it limited to residents or non-residents, or the thinking that they wouldn't be allowed to use the racks, those types of things. And I think also that DCR may have some deeded interest also in this parcel. And for state property, I'm not sure you actually can restrict it. So I'm not sure if there's some legal issues that might need to be reviewed too. And then just one other thing that I'd like to bring up, because this was an email that I received today, and that's like parking. So in that area where he's proposing to put the rack, although it is by the road and the bushes, it's still in that area where people do use, they're parking there now, and it had been rocked off, not for parking, but as we know, certain days that parking in that parcel is in high demand. So, I mean, that's one of the things that I think the commission is tasked with trying to bring up, you know, solve the parking issues at Conservation Park, and maybe overlap from Widow's Walk. So it could be a bigger discussion that really needs to go on. I mean, at one point we did talk about the subcommittee, which, you know, Andy has done a lot of review on this. So he's definitely very familiar, and obviously Penny and Frank and everybody has pretty good history on this property that I don't have, but you know, I think that there's a lot of improvements that could happen to this park, and kayaks racks eventually could be incorporated. It's really, I guess, up to you guys if you want to approve it now or not. Those are my comments.
Okay, I think Dave from Waterways is on the line, and looks like he maybe wants to interject here as well. If we want to.
I just unmuted him. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Dave Sinkowski, 29 Foxpine Lane, Waterways also. I'm just going to add that I believe the weight is close to 200 pounds for these. So two strong people could move them. It's really a matter of where you're going to put them. The other thing is, if you want to see one, these are being modeled after the ones that Marshfield put in right in their harbor area. So if you go to the parking lot where their dock system is, they're right there. And that's why we went to Kent Fab, because he did the design for Marshfield and could easily respin it for Scituate. That's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
And Amy, you're right. The process is that Waterways is just an advisory board to the select board. And so we are proposing that this happen. And the select board has had numerous questions over the year and a half that we've been talking about this. We think we've ironed them all out. And again, Andrew and I talked about this area near the bushes, but it could be anywhere along your property there, just somewhere out of the way and safe for the kayakers and the kids, whoever's going to go kayaking. to put it.
Thanks, Dave. So I get the benefit of weighing in at the end. And Dave has, good for him, has been working at this for a long time, trying to figure out how to do this. If some of us remember, we had quite a time with kayaks and boats and whatnot just left on the marsh and the sand at the
Museum Beach.
Maybe a lot of you aren't aware of this, but years ago we were having problems with people with jet ski rentals actually trying to use the Driftway Park as a place to do some of that. So, I mean, it seems like Waterways is trying to make an effort to figure out how folks can use their smaller craft. I mean, you deal with moorings and you deal with docks in the harbor and trying to accommodate people with all that. And in this case, it looks like they're trying to come up with a thoughtful and constructive way to accommodate folks in Scituate that want to use these and maybe not have to pack them back on their car. To Dave's point, you know, people could chain them up and go home and go back. So I think it's something we're going to want to try. I know that we've been saying to them for a couple of years, to them Waterways and to other folks, you know, we're trying to figure out what our next steps are at the Driftway. Jen Foley's point to us several years ago now is that our Driftway Park is probably our most used property. And, you know, we just put in the exercise state, or the scouts did that, and just different ways to add amenities for residents. So this isn't something that we're pouring hundreds of yards of concrete or have to fill or dump big things there. It's a movable racks, and we try it in a spot. And if we decide in a year that maybe they need to be relocated in a little different spot or something, I think it's a good place to give it a trial run. I think, you know, I want to be clear that it's Waterways or the harbor master or whatever that's overseeing the actual administration and monitoring of the kayaks and the use. They're on our property, but we're not the commission or board that's going to decide who gets to use them or how they get used. And we just want to see that they get, you know, people have the opportunity to use our different areas in a fashion that benefits them. So I don't see the downfall in giving this a try and put it back up out of the way. As far as storing them elsewhere, we have similar things at a place where we go fairly frequently in Rhode Island, and they're left there year round. Sometimes that's a problem because people tend to leave their kayaks behind, but I think that's another administrative part. At some point, if they're not removed by the deadline, then just like they do in the harbor, they pull them out of the way, and then someone's got to go find them. So I think it's worth giving this a shot. And if it works well there, then, you know, maybe there's a couple other places in town where that could help as well. See how it goes.
Yeah, because we can always rescind our approval, right? If it doesn't work out well next year, we can say, no, you got to take them out, right? Yeah.
Well, I think to Dave's point, it's a group effort. You know, we're appointed by the select persons, and you know, we try to work with different things in town. So if we see that there's an issue, then we address it, just like we dealt with Museum Beach, and we're looking at the spit with signs. It's kind of an ongoing sort of thing. And you know, what would be the harm? You know, we hope someday funding and whatnot, that we can do some more work at the Driftway. Other things have popped up in the meantime that have used some of our allocations from CPC, but we would really like to circle back to the Driftway Park. So it's an amenity that I think is worth trying. We're not putting up something that's going to have a lot of trash or whatnot. And if there's some problems, we'll address them and work with the Waterways to do that.
Sounds like a plan. Do we need a vote on it, Frank?
I think it wouldn't hurt to just have a vote to support this project and see how it works. I think that's good to go to the selectmen with.
Okay, can I do it or?
You certainly can.
I make a motion that conservation supports putting up kayaks, giving it a whirl down Driftway Park. Kayak racks.
Can we give it a whirl in the motion?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Do we have a second?
I second that.
Second from Brendan. All in favor, Doug?
Whirl away.
Jen?
And this is just for 1 year, right?
Well, we'll see what happens. Yeah.
I mean, they're purchasing racks and they're going to be expensive. So hopefully it'll continue. But why don't we say that? Why don't we have a motion to do that with a review in at the end of the season and see how it goes?
Perfect.
All right.
Go for it.
Everybody okay with that amendment to the motion? So I'll take all in favor, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Good. Okay. How's that?
Thank you, people. Thank you very much.
Dave, thanks for pursuing this.
No, it's going to look great.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care. Okay.
All right, hey, while we still have Conservation Park in our mind,
Yeah.
you want to talk about this request that I got about restricting parking in that front area that had been previously rocked off as no parking to be trailer only.
Where did that come from?
There's I don't remember the name of the person, a resident who wants to see things run smoother and sees that there's a lot of trailer need in that particular area on particular times,
Right.
etc., days. And so it was like, could that front area actually, be signed as trailers only?
Right.
It's just a sign. It doesn't mean that people are gonna.
I thought we got rid of trailers down there. You had to take them home.
Well, so there's the history that I don't have.
Well,
yeah, I mean, I know that there was a history of that area not being allowed to be used for parking. And then I don't know, a few years back, the rocks got moved and now it's just big enough for a truck with a trailer to go in there.
So there's been discussion at this park for a long time, Penny, and you can maybe remember some of that. We talked about DCR. There was questions when the town agreed to take some state money to improve the Driftway Park. There was some stipulations on that. In fact, that's why that porta potty still gets put there every year. And that we agreed to a 20-year sort of agreement or something like that with the state that we would do certain things. And there was a question of whether it's only supposed to be non-motorized craft. We decided that probably didn't make a lot of sense there. And it's a place where people with small boats can launch and stay out of the bad weather on a stormy day rather than try to charge out into the ocean from the harbor. But at the same time, as a commission, we're supposed to be trying to protect that marsh and the grass around there. It's in the buffer. It's a buffer area. So we're trying to figure out how much could be utilized and how that could be protected. And then there was also the question of how much motorized craft goes on in that estuary. The speed limits have to be low. It's shallow. At high tide, wave action can damage the marsh. So there was just a slew of things that were discussed about that park. And but people got frustrated and somehow somebody got in and moved. We'd actually cordoned off an area and then someone moved around a couple of stones and it made it accessible again. I understand why people want to park there and be able to park the trailer there. It just really points out that we have to probably address that Driftway Park more. and we've had so many other things going on that it hasn't gotten that far.
Yeah, I think that one of the questions is going to be, where do we expand parking to? You know what I mean? Is it going to be across the street, or is it going to be into that field on the other side? I mean, maybe that's another thing we try this year, is make some impromptu trailer parking on the other. I don't know if there's access in there though.
We talked, I think we were down there one day and we actually were talking with the TA, and we talked about whether, you know, at one point when they were redoing the parking lot for Widows Walk, if there was the opportunity to create a little bit more parking there.
Which there was to the right.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
But so, and then the other thought was that we were going to try to just do something simple, like finish up the little connectors on the bridge over by James Landing and the railroad bed, just to try to complete a loop that was there. And you know, between COVID and the amount of activity going on in the commission and other projects, it's backburned a little bit, and hopefully we can circle back to some of this and take a better look at it. But
well, I know that well, Penny, you know this, I've heard that the CPC, well, the town meeting is, fall town meetings early. Yeah, very early this year. And I think CPC deadlines are like, I don't even know if they've already passed for fall, but I mean, parking lot improvements could certainly be
no, we wouldn't do the golf course, so don't. I would not hold out hope for Conservation Park, because we turned the golf course down
for parking.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Well, I mean, maybe it's waterways then.
Well, I think we have to
pay for it, right?
We have to talk about where that revenue would come from, and so it's a bigger picture that we've been kind of
right. And then there's the dock.
We need the
so I guess, Amy, if the simple, maybe unless anybody disagrees, is that we could try to put up a sign that just says trailer parking for that area. You know, because it is hard for people with trailers to do that. Some people will launch in their boat and then they'd take off and try to find a spot to stash their trailer. Some of them were leaving them out more towards the entrance. You know, the police were enforcing the no parking along the Driftway. So it's almost 8:30. So I don't know what we're going to accomplish tonight, other than personally, I'd say let's try trailer parking and see what happens.
Oh.
Anybody want to do something more?
I just know before it was a mess down there with the trailer parking.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely, with the heavy use that it gets, I mean, you're going to get a loss of vegetation.
But if you have vehicles with trailers, you're going to have less vehicles in there than if people are just driving in with a car.
I think we should try it, just to try to see what happens, but
yeah, give it a shot.
Give it a shot.
Because people with trailers can't park. Either that or what they do is they unhook the trailer and then they take up 2 spaces.
Right, or yeah.
So.
Or part, yeah.
Okay. And especially if the
fee. What about the Scouts, Frank? Let's go to the Scouts and what you're doing.
What am I doing?
I don't know.
Oh, so well, we'll have a request. One of the Scouts that had thought about doing a project with us and turned around and changed his mind and is creating these little storage areas for life-saving equipment for the beaches. And he's got to get approval for his Scout troop. And he sent a picture to us of one. And it's, you know, they're similar to like putting a, you know, the lifeguards put out their chairs and that kind of thing. And I don't know, Amy, is that something that we can just give them a minor activities permit. I mean, I don't even know if we give permission to the beaches to put up the handicap things that they roll out every year.
Yeah, no, we don't. The stands and all that stuff. No, it would just be accessory to that.
And it's a life-saving thing. So I don't see that there's an issue with that one.
Right. I mean, if the beach commission or who has this recreation department or whatever, it's something else to manage. If that's what they want to take on, that sounds good. Whatever.
Okay. So I don't think that we'd have any issue with them using that. Then there was a little bit of change in leadership at the scout troop, and they have decided that since some of the scouts were already involved in some of the kiosks and stuff, that maybe the work that they had proposed for doing the signs wasn't really a good Eagle Scout project. But I met with one of the assistant scout leaders, and he's very enthusiastic and is going to try to put together 2 or 3 scouts that need life badges, and we're going to work with them to put up the signage at the access and parking areas that we already have. So that could happen in the next few weeks.
Thank you.
That's great.
That's great.
I'll provide the ice cream sandwiches.
Yeah, you're on. So that's the latest and greatest that I know of.
Awesome.
Anybody else?
No.
And
I make a motion to adjourn. I'm tired.
Second that emotion. That motion.
I'm
falling asleep.
And then Doug's gonna hum that or what?
Now I'm locked in for the evening now. Thanks a lot, everyone.
All right, I'm take a motion to end the meeting.
Make a motion. We close.
Adjourn. So Jen's got the motion. Who's going to second that?
I'll second it.
Didn't Brendan just do that?
I don't care. All in favor? Penny?
Yes.
Jen?
Yep.
Frank, yes. Good. Thank you very much.
All right. Good night,
Guys, all have
everybody.
a great night. Take care.
Thank you. Good night.